The girl just casually spat out a mouthful of saliva. Unexpectedly, it made the man even more excited. And he even threatened to have a wild time with them in public. Just now, Feng Clarisse and others arrived at the Heavenly Illusion Sanctuary. Unexpectedly, they were ambushed by members of the Yaoguai Slain Alliance. Meanwhile, Wei Kuan rallied the others, declaring that the gate of the Heavenly Illusion Sanctuary required their combined strength to open, and that the treasures and divine weapons inside would be theirs once it was done. The little guy in the audience immediately shouted excitedly, "Young Master Wei is truly righteous." However, they failed to notice that the roped figures had already formed a formation. In an instant, countless streaks of dark light shot out, instantly transforming into a massive cage. The little ducklings finally realized that things weren't as simple as they seemed. Meanwhile, the figure in the black cloak let out a cold laugh. "To open the door, offer up your power." With that, the soul conversion death formation abruptly activated. The trapped little creature let out continuous agonizing screams. Wei Kuan immediately laughed with satisfaction. "As I, this young master, said, everything inside belongs to our Yaoguai Slain Alliance. You fools should just obediently offer up your spiritual qi." At this very moment, the Yaoguai Slain Alliance's Xiao Gaga also brought Feng Clarisse and the others up. They didn't forget to flatter, saying, "Just as you predicted, they were lurking in the shadows. Now they are all bound by the immortal binding rope. Please decide their fate, young master." Wei Kuan immediately stepped forward and pinched Bai Yunshan's chin, saying, "That Su Longesong really knows how to play around. Not even sparing fellow disciples from his own sect is enough, and now he's even got this kind of demon race's mature beauty. I'd love to have a taste of that flavor too." Upon hearing this, Feng Clarisse immediately spat out a mouthful of saliva and shouted, "Shut up! Don't you dare insult my master." But that spit only made Wei Kuan even more excited. "Don't rush. Once your spiritual power is completely gone, I'll feed you some spring harmony powder. The four of us can have a good time together. I'll let you experience what it truly feels like to be cherished." As soon as these words were spoken, Bai Yunshan's face instantly darkened. "If you dare touch me, the Bai family will never let you get away with it." However, Wei Kuan responded with a look of disdain. "So what if it's the Bai family? My father will soon become the first supreme powerhouse of the Northern Desolate Realm. By then, all three great families will have to bow down to us. So you'd better submit to me sooner rather than later." But at that very moment, a golden light suddenly shot out, piercing through his palm with pinpoint accuracy. The excruciating pain instantly made Wei Kuan let out a ghostly scream. Several beauties, seeing that someone had come to their rescue, they instantly became excited. And the person who arrived was none other than the supreme puppet controlled by Su Longesong. Enraged, Wei Kuan immediately signaled all his subordinates to attack. While the supreme puppet remained motionless, a powerful surge of spiritual qi erupted from its body. Then, a terrifying killing intent burst from its eyes as it slowly scanned the crowd. The next second, a vast and overwhelming terrifying aura surged from within him instantly, sending the minions of the Yaoguai Slain Alliance flying, repelled by the spiritual energy. Then, the flames formed by spiritual energy began to fiercely burn their bodies. Seeing this, Wei Kuan quickly lowered his voice and asked Agent Wei, "What should we do?" Agent Wei responded very indifferently, saying, "I am well aware of the level of the Yaoguai Slain Alliance. I never intended to rely on you three, the great protectors." Bai Yunshan was instantly shocked. 3 half-step supremes? No wonder they had the ability to set up such a grand formation. They were hiding such powerful experts all along. Su Longesong, however, responded with a cold sneer and charged toward the 3 of them first. He let out a sigh. 3 half-step supremes. What a pity, what a pity. Once broken, they're gone for good. Seeing the puppet charging at him, one of them decisively activated Frost's shield, ready to withstand the impact. But in the face of absolute power, any struggle is futile. Seeing the puppet's formidable combat prowess, the other 2 decisively unleashed their ultimate secret techniques. Combining the half-step supreme spirits of the 2, they achieved supreme power. However, Su Longesong, seeing this, immediately activated the flames on his body to summon the supreme Dharma manifestation. The disparity in combat power between the 2 sides was simply too vast. The remaining 2 were instantly annihilated by his Dharma manifestation, vanishing without a trace. Seeing all those powerful figures evaporated by the puppet, Wei Kuan's eyelids immediately began twitching uncontrollably. Just as he was about to make a run for it, Su Longesong stopped him. Then he suddenly reached out and grabbed him by the neck. Wei Kuan was completely panicked now. "Don't do anything reckless. My father will be out of seclusion soon." Once he emerges, he'll reach the supreme stage, and there will be no match for him in the entire northern desolate realm. But Su Longesong merely let out a cold sneer and, without a moment's hesitation, snapped his neck. The rescued cultivators finally vented their pent-up anger. They all planned to settle scores with the Yaogui Slain Alliance as soon as they got out. The Sword Cloud Immortal sect and others hurried forward to express their gratitude. Su Longesong had no intention of revealing his identity. Your master entrusted me to take both of you into the Heavenly Illusion Sanctuary. The sect leader has given orders. This place is no longer safe. Elder Bai, quickly lead the disciples to seek other opportunities. Then Su Longesong turned his head to look at the nine-tailed Yaogui fox, Jade Linglong. She immediately understood and said, all right. With my current abilities there's no way I can escape. I'll just wait here for you, okay? The Heaven Evil Empress, after 1,000 years of slumber, finally awakens. Unexpectedly, upon opening her eyes, she calls a man her husband. Just moments ago, Su Longesong was manipulating the supreme puppet. He is preparing to bring Feng Clarisse and Yaogui Lan into the sanctuary, to prevent Jade Linglong from escaping. He also didn't forget to signal her to wait in place. Then Su Longesong activated his spiritual power, aiming directly at the Heavenly Illusion Sanctuary. He merely waved his hand. A spatial rift appeared directly before him. After finishing, he turned around and instructed, you can enter the Heavenly Illusion Sanctuary through this spatial rift. However, once inside we might be temporarily separated. If you're lucky, you may find your own opportunities. As soon as the words were spoken, the spatial rift suddenly began to tremble violently. Feng Clarisse, caught in the powerful suction instantly, couldn't help but let out a startled scream. Su Longesong, after enveloping them with a spiritual power shield, signaled, don't be afraid, protect yourself. Fate will guide your path. Feng Clarisse only felt a blur before her eyes, and when she opened them again, she found herself in a grand hall. At the same time, Yaogui Lan arrived in another grand hall. Standing in the Yaogui God Hall, she gazed at the enormous skeleton before her, and couldn't help but reveal a smile. Finally found you, bone of the Yaogui God. Meanwhile, Su Longesong was teleported to the tomb of the Divine Queen within the Crystal Palace. But to his surprise, his divine consciousness was forcibly pulled out, and the supreme puppet he had been controlling abruptly collapsed to the ground. He immediately understood the mystery. This barrier could only be traversed by spiritual entities. Then he noticed the crystal coffin before him suddenly erupting with dazzling, colorful light. Inside, a peerlessly beautiful figure, adorned with a phoenix crown and radiant robes, lay peacefully in slumber. Her snow-white hair cascaded down to her waist, her eyes gently closed, and her hands crossed over her chest as she rested serenely. The maiden's countenance. It was so beautiful that even Su Longesong was left stunned, staring in awe. At that moment, a surge of spiritual energy suddenly erupted in the space, and an elder formed from condensed spiritual power respectfully bowed to him, saying, you have finally arrived. My king, I have waited for you for 1,000 years and finally see you. However, my king, the queen has been in eternal slumber for millennia and has waited for you far too long. Upon hearing this, Su Longesong felt very strange. Could he have mistaken me for someone else? I have no memory of any of this. But the old man suddenly spoke again. My king, allow this old servant to now release the heavenly coffin seal for the queen. You have been apart for over 1,000 years. It is time for you to reunite. Then the old man raised his long staff. All the spiritual power around him surged violently toward the crystal heavenly coffin. In the next second, the crystal coffin shattered abruptly, revealing the girl's breathtakingly beautiful face in its entirety. The old man, struggling to hold himself up, spoke. For 1,000 years my last remaining soul has guarded this crystal coffin, awaiting the day when the Divine King and Divine Queen would reunite. I can now die without regrets. Amidst the gray-robed elder's hearty laughter, the woman's eyelashes fluttered lightly as her eyes slowly opened. Her snow-white pupils first showed a trace of confusion, but when she clearly saw Su Longesong's face, she softly spoke, My husband Luor, I've finally seen you again. As she finished speaking, a faint smile gradually appeared at the corner of her lips on her exquisite face, and even her voice was utterly enchanting. At this, Su Longesong was completely stunned. Husband? Who was her husband? Then he suddenly realized that, with the Millennium Seal broken and the spiritual power here depleted, the inner hall could no longer hold up. But the woman suddenly shed tears of happiness and murmured, Husband Luor is waiting for you outside. Before Su Long could figure out what was happening, the woman vanished from the crystal coffin. Then he sensed an intense surge of evil energy ahead, along with the aura of Yao Guilan. It was clear that Yao Guilan might be in danger. Without a second thought, Su Long immediately attached his divine consciousness to the supreme puppet. His top priority now was to check on Yao Guilan's condition without delay. Meanwhile, the colossal bone of the Yao Gui god began to move, possessing a strength nearly approaching the supreme level. Just as the skeleton charged towards Yao Guilan, Su Longesong arrived just in time. He punched it directly, sending it flying away. Seeing this, Yao Guilan suddenly raised her head. Her pupils instantly contracted upon seeing it was a supreme puppet. Yao Guilan hadn't expected this skeleton to endure through such a long passage of time. It still possesses such formidable strength. However, Su Longesong suddenly broke away from the fight and asked Yao Guilan, "Are you okay?" Upon hearing this, Yao Guilan immediately laughed and said, "Sister Su Longesong, I knew it was you all along playing tricks." Su Longesong no longer concealed herself. "I once said I would always protect you by your side. Even if it means in a different way, I will keep that promise." This girl accidentally entered the Yao Gui god main house. And she, amidst endless trials and rebirths, she successfully awakened the 9 Nether Imperial Phoenix bloodline within her body. Just moments ago, Su Longesong intervened at the critical moment to save Yao Guilan. Yao Guilan couldn't help but purse her lips into a smile, her violet eyes fixed unblinkingly on Su Longesong. Then she flew toward the bone of the Yao Gui god and said calmly, "No matter what, thank you for your help. This final step, I must complete with my own hands." After saying this, Yao Guilan suddenly made her move. She channeled Yao Gui Qi to envelop the skeleton. The next second, the bone of the Yao Gui god was easily suppressed by Yao Guilan. Then Yao Guilan took out a strange pearl, preparing to absorb this skeleton. But in the blink of an eye, that massive skeleton was absorbed by the pearl, sucked in by the immense pulling force it emitted. After completing the absorption, the Yao Gui bloodline within Yao Guilan suddenly erupted with a powerful aura. Then Yao Guilan stuck out her tongue. She leaned close to the puppet and said seductively, "Thank you, Longesong." Meanwhile, Feng Clarisse was alone in the Yao Gui god main house. But then, a scorching red phoenix suddenly flew out from the main hall. Yet, the phoenix showed no intention of harming her. Instead, it hovered motionless before her. Then the fiery phoenix dissolved into streaks of flame. Quietly, a peculiar mark formed on Feng Clarisse's forehead. At this moment, the bloodline power within Feng Clarisse was finally activated. Originally just a cultivator who had newly entered the vital core stage, her aura had now reached the pinnacle of the transcendent spirit stage. Then the space gradually fell into silence. Suddenly, a voice of approval rang out. "As expected of the inheritor of the 9 Nether Imperial Phoenix body, you truly carry a hint of the 9 Nether Empress's grace. I, the Venerable One, have roamed the ancient times for 3,000 years. You are the only woman who has ever satisfied me, the Venerable One." Upon hearing this, Feng Clarisse immediately wondered to herself, "What is the 9 Nether Imperial Phoenix body? The moment I stepped into the inner hall, I was already under an illusion, wasn't I? In that illusion, I was burned countless times, countless rebirths." Yet, the heavenly demon sovereign spoke once more. "Through endless tempering and rebirth, your 9 Nether Imperial Phoenix body has been awakened by me. If you become my disciple, I will impart to you all the supreme legacies accumulated over millennia within this heavenly demon hall." Feng Clarisse quickly clasped her hands and responded, "Clarisse is deeply grateful for your kindness and for awakening my bloodline. However, I already have a master in my sect and cannot become your disciple. I hope you understand." Upon hearing this, the heavenly Yao Gui Supreme narrowed his eyes slightly and said, "Let alone this insignificant northern desolate realm, even in the eternal divine realm, aside from me, the heavenly Yao Gui Supreme and the saint, who would dare call themselves the master of the 9 Nether Empress, are you truly refusing to pay your respects?" Feng Clarisse immediately showed a troubled expression. "I cannot pay my respects. Clarisse will not betray her own master." Heavenly Yao Gui Supreme immediately materialized a long sword and sneered coldly, "Since you cannot be mine, keeping you would only bring disaster. It's better to strangle you right before the heaven-soaring phoenix blade. Don't you agree?" But from the moment my bloodline awakened, she was no longer the same Feng Clarisse she used to be. She directly sliced through the heavenly Yao Gui Supreme's attack with a single sword strike. However, the disparity in cultivation level made it quite strenuous for her to hold her ground. But unexpectedly, the heavenly Yao Gui Supreme struck again. With just a light command to kneel, he enveloped Feng Clarisse in terrifying spiritual power, making it incredibly difficult for her to even stand steady. But Feng Clarisse gritted her teeth and stubbornly held on. She had no intention of giving in so easily. Even when faced with such overwhelming spiritual pressure, she still insisted that she would not become a disciple. At that moment, countless spikes suddenly emerged from the floor of the great hall. Then, a flash of cold light swept by in an instant, but Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme reacted swiftly and narrowly dodged it. Now he was utterly enraged. Who dares to come? Show yourself. Then, a spatial rift suddenly tore open in the air behind him. Yaogwai Lan and Su Longesong suddenly emerged from it. Then he came to Feng Clarisse's side and said with concern, "Disciple, you've worked hard." Just then the Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme suddenly let out a roar. "Where did this nameless nobody come from, daring to harm me? I will tear you to pieces." But Su Longesong suddenly reached out and pressed his hand firmly against the monster's face. Then, after violently flinging it away, he said coldly, "How dare you spy on my disciple? You overestimate your abilities." And the expression on Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme's face suddenly turned grim. This familiar spiritual energy lost for a millennium. "It's you." Then, Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme stomped his foot and charged out once again. But he suddenly grabbed Su Longesong's thigh and shouted loudly, "So it's the immortal Divine King. You should have said so earlier. How would I, your disciple, dare to snatch anything from you?" Now Su Longesong is completely baffled. The Divine King said the same thing as that old man earlier. Could it be that I look exactly like someone else? The woman was originally the peerless empress who swept through all realms 1,000 years ago. But to her surprise, she merely glanced at the man. She desired him to become her husband. Just moments ago, the mighty Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme actually groveled before Su Longesong. He even shouted, "So it's you, immortal Divine King, who has arrived." Then he began to narrate on his own. During the great calamity of heaven and earth back then, to protect Divine Queen Luolaria, you sent her to my heavenly illusion sanctuary. Since you're here now, it's time to take her away. Su Longesong was instantly bewildered. "System, what's going on? Why don't I have this memory?" The system was also helpless. In the original plot, Su Longesong had no interaction with the Divine Queen. It might be because of your transmigration that the timeline has become chaotic. There's no clear explanation for now. Meanwhile, the Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme spoke again. "It seems she has already left. In that case, you should leave quickly. The reappearance of the Divine King in the mortal world. Don't draw the people of the Divine Immortal Palace to my doorstep. I still want to lie low for a few more years." Seeing that the other party was urging him to leave, Su Longesong had no choice but to turn and depart. "In that case, I'll take my leave." Watching Su Longesong and the others leave the main hall, Heavenly Yaogwai Supreme suddenly spat out a mouthful of ketchup. Then, with a complex expression, he murmured, "Divine King, it seems you've forgotten that the cataclysm that destroyed all realms and worlds was actually caused by your beloved Divine Queen. You must find her no matter what." But Su Longesong could no longer hear it. He had already returned to the Heavenly Yaogwai city. Upon seeing Jade Linglong, Yaogwai Lan and her daughters immediately became displeased. Where did this vixen come from? Bai Yunzhua sat with a look of disdain and said, "Su Longesong, don't you know him well enough?" Meanwhile, due to the tragic death of the Yaogwai Slain Alliance's young master, conflicts have erupted among the cultivators who left the mythic realm. But at this very moment, a fluctuation of spiritual chi suddenly appeared in midair. Then a woman adorned with a phoenix crown and radiant attire, stunning the world, slowly emerged from it. Her long snow-white hair cascaded down to her waist. Her beauty was so breathtaking it could steal one's breath away. And the black-robed figures below were already in shock, exclaiming, "Empress! The Empress has been resurrected." And the others panicked upon hearing this. Is that the demoness they went to great lengths to resurrect? We're doomed now. But from the moment the heaven-evil Empress appeared, her gaze remained fixed on Su Longesong. Then she swiftly descended from mid-air. And with tears of joy she exclaimed, "Husband Luor, I've missed you so much." Countless thoughts of longing in the heart of the heaven-evil Empress, all transformed into joy and contentment upon seeing Su Longesong at this moment. She immediately threw herself into his arms. At this, the expressions on the faces of the women grew even more unpleasant. Their eyes were fixed intently on the heaven-evil Empress. Jade Linglong immediately sneered, "Sure enough, he's a scumbag who leaves a trail of affection everywhere." Seeing the situation turning unfavorable, Su Longesong quickly detached from the puppet. He withdrew his consciousness back into his main body. Then he quickly pushed Luolaria away and said, "Miss, you've mistaken me for someone else. I am not your husband. Luo Lyria panicked immediately upon hearing this. Husband, if you're saying this, there must be a reason you can't speak of. Luor doesn't care. Luor just wants to be with you. Upon hearing this, the robed figures immediately knelt down. Empress, 1,000 years ago, you led our heavenly evil race to sweep across all realms. Now our clan is being hunted to this point. Please save us. As soon as the words fell, an icy voice, cold to the extreme, suddenly came from the woman's lips. Get lost. The next second, the robed figures below were instantly pierced by countless icy rays. This woman truly recognizes this face of mine. Combined with what those people in the Heavenly Illusion Sanctuary said, could it be that I am the so-called Divine King? Thinking of this, Su Long quickly asked the system to check Luo Lyria's information. Name Luo Lyria. Ancient Luo God race's first divine maiden. Heaven Evil Empress. Bloodline cultivation level. Supreme stage pinnacle. After fully recovering her strength, she can reach the Saint 9 layer. Cultivation method. Luo God manual. Celestial tier cultivation method. Current favorability toward host. 99. After dealing with the black-robed man, Luo Lyria, her snow-white eyes instantly grew moist and glistening. She stared unblinkingly at Su Longesong. She didn't shy away from the gazes of the surrounding crowd. At that moment, a surge of dark energy erupted violently, and immense spiritual power shot up into the sky from the city. Su Longesong narrowed his eyes slightly at the sight. Such intense spiritual energy. This level of power is unprecedented in the northern desolate realm. This is the strength of the supreme stage. The sudden appearance of the powerful figure was none other than Wei Haitao, the master of the Yaoguai Slain Alliance. It's the alliance leader. The alliance leader has reached the supreme stage. We are saved. And the surviving black-robed figures quickly began to shout. Welcome, Alliance Leader Supreme. May the Alliance Leader's fortune be as boundless as the heavens, and may ruling the Northern Desolate be within reach. Alliance Leader, Your Excellency, but unexpectedly, Agent Wei suddenly stepped forward and said, It's him. It's that Su Longesong who killed your son. The Empress had no time to catch up with her husband, whom she hadn't seen for 1,000 years. Unexpectedly, she was summoned away by the Divine Immortal Palace. Just now, Wei Haitao emerged from seclusion after advancing to the supreme stage. Yet, he never expected to learn that his own son had tragically died at the hands of Su Longesong. Why didn't you protect him with your life? How dare you live on alone? Then he turned and charged towards Su Longesong. However, Su Longesong was not afraid at all. You killed the sect leader of my Sword Cloud Immortal sect. I will settle this score with you properly. As soon as the words fell, the two exchanged a punch. Wei Haitao didn't expect this person to be so young. He actually managed to block Supreme's attack. And Su Longesong isn't feeling too great either. My spiritual power can't be fully unleashed right now. Taking on Supreme head-on is really tough. Without hesitation, he then chose to activate the cheat. Damn system, open the system mall for me. He decisively exchanged for a Supreme experience card right away. The moment he used the experience card, he then unexpectedly discovered that there were humanoid puppet cards available in the mall. However, seeing him dazed, Wei Haitao charged at him once again. Su Longesong leaped into the air to dodge. He swiftly formed hand seals with both hands. Instantly, a terrifying golden spiritual power emanated from his body. Then with a single finger he pointed downward. A massive golden demon long phantom materialized in the void, carrying overwhelming spiritual power as it charged fiercely toward Wei Haitao. After taking the blow, Wei Haitao's face darkened instantly. The brutal aura emanating from that demon long was overwhelmingly powerful. Su Longesong sneered at the sight, scoffing. A mere supreme, easy to handle. After saying that, Su Longesong suddenly clenched his fist tightly. The golden demon long's massive jaws also clamped down simultaneously. The little ducklings panicked instantly. The alliance leader was gone, vanished right after emerging from seclusion. Those figures in black robes decisively closed in. This person must not be allowed to live. The heavenly evil race spared no effort to surround and eliminate him. Su Longesong then pulled out the new item he had just exchanged from the shop, ready to test its effects. The moment the puppet talisman was activated, several streaks of black light shot out abruptly from the talisman. The members of the heavenly evil race felt a sudden shock throughout their bodies, as if their souls had been struck by a tremendous blow. In an instant, their gazes became completely vacant. Heavenly evil race, heed the command. Slaughter all in Yaoguai Slain City, leave none alive. Instantly, agonizing screams surged throughout Yaoguai Slain City. Meanwhile, Luo Lyria and Su Longesong were controlling the heavenly evil race. She originally wanted to go up and say something. But suddenly, a voice transmission came to her from the heavens above. Divine Queen, return to your throne at once. Seeing the divine immortal palace summoning her, she knew she could no longer linger. For now, she could only wait until everything was over before returning to find Su Longesong. Before long, all the minor creatures within Yaoguaislain City had been completely dealt with. Su Longesong immediately declared sternly that from now on, the Yaoguaislain alliance would completely vanish from the northern desolate realm. The heavenly evil race is stationed here, forbidden from engaging in deceitful acts or harming the common people in the slightest. Upon hearing this, the heavenly evil race immediately knelt respectfully, showing complete submission. The surrounding citizens immediately erupted in cheers. Sir Su, your martial spirit is unparalleled, reigning supreme for eternity. Meanwhile, Yi Maple, blending into the crowd, watched Su Longesong steal the spotlight without uttering a word. Emperor Devourer chuckled and said, he definitely wouldn't expect that while he's showing off, we've already raided his home. Without wasting a word, Yi Maple immediately took Emperor Devourer and made a run for it. Meanwhile, Su Longesong had already used the supreme puppet. I know that Yi Maple took Snow Glaze away. The scene shifts to Sky Cloud City on the border of the northern desolate realm. Upon arriving here, Yi Maple released the restraints on Snow Glaze and Demon Daosky. The enraged Demon Daosky initially intended to resist, but he was sent flying with a single punch from Yi Maple. Your spiritual power has been sealed by me. I advise you not to act recklessly, as I fear I might accidentally kill you and fail my mission. Seeing this, Snow Glaze immediately stepped forward to ask, what exactly is your purpose? Hearing this, Yi Maple quickly explained, Miss Glaze, please forgive my rudeness. I only resorted to this because I didn't want you to fall into Su Longesong's clutches. Su Longesong harbors deep-seated evil intentions and is no good man. One day you will understand my sincere efforts. This kid resorts to dirty tricks because he can't beat Sir Su. Miss Snow, you must not listen to him. Yi Maple didn't bother to continue the argument. I need to go out for some business. The Devouring Emperor will ensure your safety. You are free to move around the city, but do not attempt to escape. The man had just found his maidservant, and immediately offered a sky-high price in an attempt to acquire all 3 furnaces at once. Just now, Demon Daosky and Snow Glaze, whose spiritual power had been sealed, had no choice but to go to the inn to eat and drink heartily. Demon Daosky was extremely furious. He never expected to fall for Yi Maple's trick. Then he whispered, Miss Glaze, if you ever see Sir Su again, you must report that kid's actions. But Snow Glaze didn't even lift her head. You want to use others to do your dirty work? Save it. Demon Daosky, seeing that his scheme had been seen through, immediately retorted in a displeased tone. We're both in the same boat, yet you've hurt my feelings so deeply. At that moment, a young man dressed in luxurious clothing suddenly walked into the tavern. Then he fixed his burning gaze intently on Snow Glaze. He quickly walked over to Snow Glaze's side and said, Miss, although we have never met before, I feel a deep connection between us. It must be fate in this lifetime. I am the young master of Sky Cloud City. Would you do me the honor of accompanying me to the cloud auction tonight? Snow Glaze declined without even looking up, not interested. Xuehao never expected that he would be turned down, and Demon Daosky immediately mocked. The self-righteous clown turns out to be you. Xuehao immediately grabbed Demon Daosky's head and smashed it into the table. Where did this beggar come from? How dare you spout nonsense in my territory? I could crush you with just one hand. And only then did Demon Daosky remember that his spiritual power had been sealed. At that moment, Xuehao stopped pretending. He let out a cold sneer without hesitation. Give you an inch and you'll take a yard. All women in this world are merely my playthings. Woman, don't be so ungrateful. And Demon Daosky directly grabbed Xuehao's hand with his own. Enraged, Xuehao immediately pulled out a knife. He immediately thrust it toward Demon Daosky. But at that very moment, a stone suddenly shot out, interrupting Xuehao's movement. He immediately turned around and angrily shouted, Who dares to ruin my plans? Upon hearing this, Su Longesong smiled faintly and said, I've heard that the Sky Cloud City is hosting the Tianyun auction tonight, with many distinguished guests gathered. If the young city lord treats guests this way, I'm afraid it will disappoint everyone. How about giving me some face and letting this matter end here? Xuehao couldn't help but mutter to himself, such an overwhelming presence, and causing trouble now would only disrupt tonight's auction. With this thought, Xuehao turned and left with his lackeys in tow. Meanwhile, Snowglaze eagerly threw herself into Su Longesong's embrace. You finally came. I thought I would never see you again. Demon Dao Sky, after Su Longesong helped him break the seal, he immediately launched an attack towards the Emperor Devourer. With just one strike, the Emperor Devourer was forced to reveal its true form. Then Demon Dao Sky respectfully said, Sir Su, you have saved my lifetime and again. I offer this fragment of the Emperor's weapon to you. That person surnamed Yi has been relentlessly pursuing me. Su Longesong then signaled him to take Snowglaze back to the sect on his way before leaving. Why don't you come back with me? Su Longesong then turned around and said meaningfully, because tonight, many things unsuitable for children will happen here. That night, at the Sky Cloud City Furnace auction venue, the audience below is eagerly anticipating what top-tier furnace will appear tonight. And Yi Maple also wants to try his luck. After all, Sky Cloud City is famous for auctioning furnaces. Even if it can't compare to the 9 Nether Imperial Phoenix body under Su Longesong's command, it would still be a great achievement. Hidden in the shadows, Su Longesong secretly followed Yi Maple. He couldn't help but sneer inwardly. Even the esteemed Azure Long Saint has come to participate in such filthy auctions. It truly shows that the so-called Great Way disregards trivialities. In the eyes of certain transcendent immortal cultivators, all beings and other races are no different from ants. Sometimes it's really hard to tell who the true villain is. Before long, the auction host announced, Welcome, esteemed guests, to the auction venue. This year's furnace includes some who are obedient and well-behaved. There are also those who are enchantingly beautiful and wildly untamed. And there are those who are pure and adorable. In a word, whatever you desire, we have it all. No more talk, let's get straight to the goods. Starting bid, 50,000 spirit stones. As soon as the words were spoken, the price of each furnace suddenly skyrocketed to 300,000 spirit stones. Listening to the surrounding bids, Yi Maple's face turned dark. These people in shady businesses are just too rich, aren't they? But just then, Su Longesong suddenly spoke up and made a bid. I want both number 2 and 3. 3 million spirit stones. Any other bids? Not then,